This is the Lindsay Stafford Show.
All right, welcome back to the Lindsay Stafford Show. We are featuring local legends here in Middle Tennessee, where we bring stories of entrepreneurs, business owners. They tell it all. And today we're hearing from Coach David, my friend David Gibbs, who has a really great story to share. And what I love about his story is it's unique, it's authentic, and he was a stay-at-home dad while he started his business. So it's going to be probably a story you haven't heard anything like before. So stay with us as we dig into that. It is David Gibbs with Coach David. He's a financial and career coach. Mm-hmm. David, great to see you today. Thanks for being here.
I'm ready to tell it all.
Oh my gosh, let's go.
Let's get crazy.
We talked about, before we got started, just the authenticity of this podcast, because it really is truly just, we get in here and we talk, right? There's not a bunch of prep of, we're going to make sure we say this. It's just the truth. And I love that we can, the messages I get, that it's inspiring to other entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. So I wanted you to start with, just tell us a little bit about you and how you started your coaching business.
Yeah. Well, in the year of our Lord, 2018, it was that year, because the theme of, I would say my whole career has been, how can I help people? I've just always wanted to help people. Believe it or not, my degree is actually in criminal justice. I thought I was going to be a cop there for a minute. And then I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that at all. And then I became a librarian. And then my wife and I, we got out of debt. We did the Dave Ramsey method ourselves. So it took us about 3 years to get out of debt. And in 2018, it was during that period of time that I must have had, maybe I'm exaggerating, I don't know, but it feels like I had about 50 conversations where I'm just sharing with people what we did, and they kept ending in people crying and saying, oh, thank you. So it was like a lightning bolt. Like, how do you monetize this?
Yeah.
How do you do this for a job? And the internet must have been listening, because the financial coach master training through Ramsey Solutions popped up on my phone a couple months later.
Of course it did.
And I was like, oh, I could be a coach.
That's how I do that.
Yeah. And so I took that training, and I've been coaching ever since.
Awesome. And so you did that in 18. Mm-hmm. You took the training. So you've been doing this for 6 years, almost 7, I guess.
I celebrated 6 years in August, actually.
Okay,
exactly.
Fantastic.
Because I took the training early, and then I really started the business that August 2018.
Got it. Awesome. And I know your story starts with, you were at home. So you have a little bit of a unique role. And I've shared that because in our family, there were periods, my husband is also David, but we've been married for 19 years. I know, David the best. And over the course of our marriage, we've switched roles at times. And a lot of the time he's been at home, focused on the family, which is a unique situation to be in. It's not very common, but it's a pretty awesome thing when you think about that. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about how you built this alongside being at home with you have two.
Yeah, two boys. Yeah, 5 and a 7-year-old now.
Yeah.
Well, it was a switch, actually, because like I said, I was a librarian, and my wife and I were like, well, we want to, get out of California, go move somewhere else. And so at that time, I, had my coaching business going in California, but I was still working full time at that moment. And I was like, oh, maybe I could work for Ramsey proper. So I was like trying to get in there and applying, but it wasn't happening. Like, they didn't like me. I don't know. No, they liked me then. but then my wife one day, and this is where it happened, she was like, I don't mean to step on your man toes, but do you mind if I try? And that stinker tries once, and she got the job. And so that was the switch. We came here, and I was at home on a 3rd-story apartment with an infant and an almost 2-year-old. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do my coaching business now. And it was in the middle of summer, and we only had one car at the time. So that summer was twice a day, carrying the boys up and down to go get mom and do all this while trying to start the business.
So you relocated to Franklin?
To Spring Hill.
Spring Hill.
Yeah.
So you relocated from California to Spring Hill, which is such a great up and coming area.
Yeah.
A lot of great things there. And you were in an apartment, no elevator,
no
3 stories. My apartment in college, I lived right on Beacon Street in Boston. My freshman year, I lived on Tremont Street, and it was the year that the Patriots were like winning everything. And it was, right in the early years where the 03, 04 Red Sox were crushing it. And I lived on Beacon Street right outside Fenway Park, and we were on the 4th floor and there was no elevator, and we're in Boston heat. It was ridiculous. My parents, thank you guys for moving me in there because it was horrible. So you're up 3 floors with 2 babies in a place you don't know, starting a business.
Yeah. Because restarting the business. At that moment, I had only maybe 1 or 2 clients left from California. And then I found out quickly that, I need to change my phone number because nobody's picking up my California phone number over here.
Screening that call, right? So what did you do? Tell us how you did it. What did your day look like, and how did you bootstrap? Because that's what you did to build a business to the celebratory point where it actually happened to be the first time you and I had a conversation. Was the day that your youngest went to school, and we celebrated you having full-time availability for work.
Well, thinking back, it really was one tiny step at a time, because I will tell you right away, as soon as my wife went off to work, I was like, oh yeah, I'll be making as much as you in like 3 months. No big deal, And after like the 4th or 5th consultation where I'm trying to like talk to someone on the phone and I've got the boys on me and they need, like, maybe I need to rethink my priorities here and what I can actually do. And truly, I actually think I see it as a mission of mine now, because a lot of coaches are part-time. They're in the exact same situation I am. And I actually have a monthly email for part-time coaches that I do, just telling them what I learned. And so during that period of time, the first step was understanding what I can actually do. And then the next step was being content with that. I can't actually work all day. I have to take care of the kids. They're actually number 1 priority, and the business is number 2 when it comes to my daily routine. So I had to own that. I had to be okay with that. I had to mourn that I don't get to work as much as I want to.
Sure.
And then it went to, okay, my mission was to figure out some way, and this took some time, to get them on the same nap routine. And I did it eventually, where it took about, I would say, a year of training and work. And there were still moments where I would lay them down to rest, and I would have a consultation or appointment right after that, hoping and praying that they're not going to cry or call me.
And you're in an apartment, so it's not like you have a huge space.
No. But eventually it was great. And I'll tell you, everybody, you can do it. 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock every single day was their nap. And after a while, they were just trained and they went down, and it was easy. In the beginning, it was hard, but
I'm sure.
But eventually, that's what I did. So that would be my work time, 1 to 4. And then evenings, I would do evening appointments. And that would always be kind of like, if it got to be a huge amount, my wife and I would have to have a chat, like, how much can I do stuff in the evening? And then I would do weekend things.
I can so relate to that.
And weekends.
I can so relate to that. In fact, I had a coaching conversation with somebody this week that we really looked at their schedule and said, you have these commitments. This person, his children are in school. So he's driving them to school and then driving the other one, and they're in 7,000 activities after school. And it's like, okay, you have these hours every day. That's it. And actually what I find, and I think a lot of business owners find it, is when you're limited with your time, you're more intentional with your time. And you actually can get more done in 2, 3, 4, 5 hours when you know that's all you have, than you can get done in a full 8-hour day. And you turn around and go, well, what in the world did I accomplish today? Versus it's 3 hours, I got to get all this stuff done. I'm like pedal to the metal. There's a reason they say want something done, give it to a busy person. So I applaud you for that. But I want to go back to the point where you said, I had to prioritize and then accept where it was. The ego had to be just put down. The ego of, my wife is going to make more money than I do right now, and the kids are going to come first. And I'm not here to serve me. I'm here to serve my family. And this has to be the priority. That's a hard step to make. And to come here and publicly say all of this is so inspirational. How did you pass that? How did you break down that ego to say, it's not about me looking like the superstar here?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I feel like I was built to do it, because just a little backstory. When I was, I think, 9 years old, we got into a big car accident. And my mom ended up in a wheelchair from when I was 9 till I was 18, had over 20 different surgeries.
Wow.
And so back then, I learned to clean the house. I learned to do the dishes. I learned to cook. I learned all those things when I was a kid. And so in that way, it felt completely comfortable. But at the same time, all of a sudden, I'm taking my boys to the library and I'm the only guy there. And people are like, you better have a kid with you, like looking at me like weird.
Who are you?
And then there were times where I would be somewhere with the kids, and I think they've gotten better at this now, but there were no changing tables in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom. And so it was weird, dealing with all those things. And truly what I found this year is that I flipped a switch. I did compartmentalize those feelings of like, I'm doing this now. I think I was meant to do this and I'm okay with that. But I'll fast forward to this year. It was May of this year. And I was kind of thinking, oh, I'm almost done. I'm almost free. And that brought me that when I realized like, oh, I've been pushing down some feelings over the past few years because it felt like there was a lion in me that can't wait to get back to work, And even though I felt like I hadn't been doing it, there was a little bit of comparison going on. I'm like, oh yeah, those other coaches can't wait till I'm full time and I'll catch up to all of them. The coaches who have been able to do more than me all these years. Sorry. And so I had to work through that. I actually talked to a counselor about that. I'm like, because I don't want to be that way, because that takes away of also what I'm proud of that I accomplished, that I took both those boys and I did the preschool of dad. I did a curriculum for both of them. I taught them all their stuff. And I'm happy to say my kindergartner, he got his first like little report card and it is like above grade level on everything. And I'm just like the preschool of dad.
Proud.
Coach
David.
Yeah. And so, but I didn't realize at the time that all those feelings were in there. Like I saw those other coaches, I saw those things, but I didn't allow it because I was on a mission, but I definitely, at the same time, when I was almost out, I had to like, no, you did a great job. You did a great thing. And I had to speak truth, because I guess there was a little green monster trying to hide in there.
But you managed it. And I love this. We don't go here that often in conversations here. And there's so much of your story that I think resonates. I talk to hundreds of business owners a month, and a lot of them I coach through challenges with. That's part of what I do. And the ego laying it down and saying, I have to put my blinders on and just focus on this. Yeah. It's not something that you can just work to make happen and be okay with it over time. You literally have to just decide to drop it. Yeah. It's like quitting cold turkey. I'm not going to let that happen to me anymore. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. And that's a hard thing to accomplish, putting your blinders on and sticking to what you're doing. And I had a conversation with a couple people this morning actually about, for 90 days, just commit to go all in and not let anything get in your way and not let your brain start to pull you in different directions. And one of the hardest things we do as business owners is control the 6 inches between our ears. Right here, it's all in our head. And laying down your ego is not easy, especially for men. But I love that you were able to go back and tackle it and say, this was obviously still here, and now I can overcome it. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and what you do in your business as a coach.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I recently added career coach to it, but I've been career coaching the entire time. When I was working in the library system in California, I rose up to librarian 2 and I oversaw different branches. So it was really weird for me, like thinking about that, where I went from, I had assistants bringing me coffee to I have 2 little boys chasing me around. It was weird, and so when you're talking about finances, I would really akin my business to a gym coach. I'm here about behavior change. I'm here about keeping you accountable and getting you to go one more punch, one more rep. You can do it, that kind of stuff. And so I walk with them through all of their times, from, if you're talking about Ramsey, baby step 1 to baby step 7, all the things through life. There was this one lady, which I'm really proud of. And it was scary at the same time. She called me up one day. She's like, well, should I declare bankruptcy or start being coached by you? And I'm like, well, I don't really want that responsibility.
Yeah.
But if you want to, we're going to do the best we can. And it took years. We met monthly for years to work through all the debt, all the creditor, all, coaching her through how to deal with those things, behaviors, kids, how to keep them happy. What does Christmas look like when you have no money? All those things I worked with her on. And she ended up doing her debt-free scream on the Ramsey show.
I mean, that's such a big success story right
Yeah.
there. Congratulations and well done. When somebody's in that situation and they're like, my shovel, as Dave Ramsey likes to say, isn't big enough to tackle the debt that I have, or it doesn't feel like it. And it feels like there's restrictions, because we talked about this on another episode. Lifestyle creep happens, right? You start making more money and you start spending more money, and it just, and there's no secret that here in the Williamson County area, that can be real easy to do because of the affluency in this area. And everywhere, but specifically here. And so when somebody comes to you and they're like, should I spend this money on a coach, or should I pay this money on debt every month? Talk to us about why they need a coach.
Well, it's funny. I actually just was looking at a report about how when you have accountability, you're 95% more apt to accomplish your goal. And so it's the same thing with any behavior change. It's hard to do it. And accountability is the biggest part, as well as having, I would even say, there's a blind spot. I'm the guy who is your voice that is able to look at blind spots that you're not seeing, able to look in your budget. I mean, I would say almost every single client I've ever had has told me, oh, we don't really spend any money. We don't know what's going on. And then I look at their budget and there's just a list of wants that are not needs. And then when you start poking, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh yeah, And so the biggest thing that, the first step with all of my clients is finding motivation. Finding what is your reason why, because at the end of the day, you need to fire me and have your own reason why. Because if you don't have your own reason why, you're just going to get back into the exact same situation before you met me. So that's always the very first homework I have all of my clients do. Sit down by yourself. I love it. Couples, I have them go separately.
Oh, that's gotta be interesting.
And make it a date, where they go sit down by themselves. And I say, because it's hard, when people are feeling the pressure to see any hope. So truly my job is to inject that hope. So I even say, what did your 18-year-old self want to dream about? What did you want to do with your life? One of my personal reasons why is if a Helene or any tornado or earthquake happens, I want to be able to say, I don't owe anybody money. I'm going to pause on work today, fill up the truck with water and go help because I can. And so I try to tell them, let's think about that. Let's think about in high definition, not statistics. I always say, tell me the story, not the statistics. Because so many people, they want to jump to, oh, I want to pay off my house by that. I want the kids to college. Okay. But what will change about your life if you do that? What will you do with that extra money? And so when you start thinking about it that way, so like going back to the couple exercise, I have them go and then I say, then make it a date. Come back together, share what you want to do, what you want your life to look like, 10, retirement, all that good stuff. And then now we put it together. And when you go back to doing your budget, you're going to be, instead of, you take that away, you take that off. Well, that's my thing. It's more like we now have this life that we're fighting for. We have something to fight for. Is this item, whatever it is, in being in our budget, is it getting us to the life we say we want or not? And if you're still having a problem, then maybe your why is not strong enough, and maybe you need to revisit that.
Yeah, I love it. It's very similar to, coaching period. You got to start with why, right?
Yeah.
I had a conversation yesterday with a friend and he said, there's this book I would suggest starts with why. Have you read it? I'm like, yes, I've read it.
That's a good one.
But it's Simon Sinek and it's a great book. He's got a couple really good ones. But starting with why and uncovering that is a hard thing for people in today's world. We tend to say, well, I just want to have this paid off, or I want to put money in retirement. But you're right. That's a what. That's not a why.
Yeah.
And when you are not focused on the why, the what becomes negotiable.
Yeah.
And the target moves. Your why has to be strong enough to make you say no to what you want now, to say yes to what you want later.
Yeah.
And the benefits of having somebody help you through that and identify that, whatever goal you're trying to reach or you're trying to accomplish, whether it's financial or in your career or in your business,
Yeah.
having an accountability partner is almost a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's been there that can walk you through it.
A great example of that is it took my wife and I about 3.5 years to get out of debt. And when I first came to Tennessee, one of my first clients, he was making just about the amount I was making at the time when I was in debt, and he had the same amount of debt.
Wow.
And with me as his coach, he got out of debt in less than 1 year.
Awesome.
So 3 times better.
He ate more beans and rice than you did.
Maybe. Well, I was truly, I was spunky, and I was still just learning what to do at the time. I didn't have someone to teach me or tell me. And so I see it as, when I'm telling my clients, to give me that money or pay something off, like you mentioned earlier, it's an investment. It's an investment that's hopefully going to help you not to pay as much interest on your stuff, because we're going to get this done. We're going to get it done faster. And hopefully, any fee you pay me, you're going to get back by not paying any more debt and all these other things.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how many business owners don't take a partner in anything, whatever it is they're going after. Business owners, I'm kind of shifting what you're talking about to, people in general, but business owners, how they don't take a partner. They have these goals, but they aren't willing to invest in somebody helping them to strategize. And I can think of 2 very, very intelligent, super smart people that are business owners that I've talked to. One, I had lunch this week with him, and another one is one of my clients. And they're so far beyond other people because they've invested in themselves and in people that have made the mistakes so that they don't have to make them.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to have somebody help you in whatever it is that you're trying.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whether it's fitness, finance, your business, whatever that is, parenting, any of those things. So that the accountability piece, there's definitely something to be said for that. There is no price you can put on that. And when you as a coach, because I'm also a coach and, I don't coach finances, but it's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
You and I were chatting about kind of how it works. And it's like, well, you can't attack your finances without talking about everything else that contributes to that.
Yeah.
I approach my coaching the same way with business owners, that I can't coach you on your business alone because everything around it impacts it. So we have to break down your daily habits, your routines, your thoughts,
everything.
Your relationships, all of those things in order to make progress in your business. And that is what most people miss. They misunderstand that you've got to get everything around you right, the foundation, in order to have a strong budget or have a strong result in your business. So when you were able to go kind of into the full-time space, how was it? Did you struggle at all with having more time?
Now, it's interesting, with that and what you're making me think of too is, when I was part-time, I didn't have time to mess around, so I was always very focused. It would always make me laugh when I would hear other coaches like, I just, I wasn't able to make all the calls I wanted to do. Yeah. For me, it's like, I put the kids down, run, make the calls. There's no time to be nervous. There's no time to think about the script. There's no time, And so I did a lot of bringing it down to basics, just love other people and serve them, go. And so if I just kept that in my mind, I would go. Now, so I was dreaming, right? As I was nearing the point where my youngest was going to go to school, and I was thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. So I started, and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm writing books, I'm making curriculums, I'm doing all this stuff, right? And then a little bit in, I'm like, I don't have as many clients as I want to. How much have I been prospecting?
Right.
And so I actually got on a call with a great coach, and he was talking about what he was going through around the same time, like 5-6 years in. And he was shared this business hierarchy of needs pyramid. And I was like, I am actually not here. I need to focus on here first and getting those prospects up. And then I can kind of do those fun extracurricular things more. I have to have the base, and then I can go to the next step. And so that was a big thing. Like I thought I was going to be able to do everything, but it's just one good quality step at a time. So I've refocused, I'm doing those things now, and I'm building up the client base, and then the book is there. I'm going to get there.
It'll get there.
It's going to be a good book.
I can't wait to read it.
It's going to literally, it is basically an autobiography of my time as a part-time coach. I'm writing all
Awesome.
about it. And it's going to be where I kind of share a story of me dealing with the boys and then what I learned from it, how I applied it to my business,
it.
all that good stuff. So,
Oh, that's
little plug.
fantastic.
No,
Yes. Well, what do you have a name for it
No,
yet?
I have
Not
no
yet.
name
So
for it.
we'll have you
Yeah.
back
I
on
know, yeah.
when we have that. But I struggle with the same thing. I was actually just talking to a coach yesterday myself about like there's all these things that I want to do and the challenges. I love all of them, right? Like
Yeah.
this to me is awesome, sitting down doing a podcast,
Yeah.
but I love coaching business owners too, and I love helping clients. And there's so many things. So that constant pull to go between things as a business owner is pretty natural.
Yeah. Well, it's just the entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit. Like, oh, that's a good idea. That's
Yeah.
a good idea. That's a good idea. you
Yeah,
know?
the like the squirrel and it's like the shiny object just pulls you.
Yeah.
So you have to have people around you that keep you grounded, and you have to have people that keep you focused. For me, my dad is my person. Typically in the morning, we walk together and we talk through things, and he does keep me focused. And then my husband kind of does on the other end in the evenings. And so, if you don't have that, that's something you got to find. And I also like to say, as you're thinking about prioritizing, build your sort of a team of advisors that, I've got a list of people that I've got. If I want to have something I'm thinking about changing or doing or implementing, I'm going to talk to these people and get their opinion before I make a big change. And those come from all walks of life. I've got some from when I was young and some from, that were been peers. Some I've, never even met in person, but we've become connected through other sources. So it's important to surround yourself with people. David, I want you to give a piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that is kind of stagnant or stuck. What's one thing that you could share? One tip.
Yeah. Well, I want to piggyback on what you were just sharing about.
Yeah, go.
To share the tip.
Sure. Yeah, cool. Look at us conversing.
I know. I love
it's like
it.
it's organic. It is.
The community aspect of it, that has always been strong. Since I first started coaching, I have coaches that we've been rocking together for 5-6 years. And so I would say, that is good. But my tip would be careful and prioritize. And what I mean by that is, and this, anytime we're in a business, anytime we're in a group of people trying to do something, all of a sudden you can easily find yourself in like 5 meetings a week talking about the business, but not actually going and doing any work. You
Or
can
networking.
find, you're just networking all the time, or you're in I think this year I have been invited to maybe 10 different Facebook communities. and so what I learned during my part-time, and that I've had to make sure I reinvigorate and make sure I'm holding on to that spunkiness, is that discernment of, is this actually helping me move forward or not? And having the priorities of your business straight, you can kind of cut through that easier. And when you have no time, it's easier to cut through because I don't have time. I can do like one thing,
Right.
And so I'm holding on to that now and thinking about the boundaries and the things that I know now, like after coaching for some time. Is this book club going to help me? Because there's thousands of book clubs you can be in. So that'd be a big thing. Think about your discernment. Think about what is actually helping you. Have a list of what I'm looking for and just get one of those things. And then spend the rest of your time building your business and reinvesting in your business and reinvesting in yourself. Community is good, but I've seen it go too far sometimes.
It can happen. This is something we talk about all the time, that you can network your week away.
Yeah.
You can converse and I've had to constantly reevaluate, how am I spending my time?
Yeah.
These are my revenue sources. How much time am I spending in these things, and how much time am I spending on the business versus in the business?
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to do. I remember, you bring me back to when I built my first business. I was working full time, so I had a full time career. I was traveling a lot, and I think I spent something like 90 days in a hotel that year. For business. None of that was for fun. I always have fun when I'm working, right? I loved what I did, but it wasn't like pleasure, vacations, it was work. And I built a business, I built a 7-figure business on the side while I was working, but it was the laser focus of, this is my schedule and I cannot change what I'm doing. I don't have time to sit and gossip about somebody. I don't have time to sit and listen to complaints. It's like, what's your problem? What's the solution? Okay, go do it. Right. I don't have time to, I still don't really watch TV very much. We maybe watch like an hour at night together, and it's always something. Shark Tank's my favorite, something kind of educational, and not there's anything wrong with TV. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is when your back is up against a wall and you don't have a lot of time to execute, you have to be intentional with what you're doing. Yeah. And I also learned the power of who, not how, and leveraging other people instead of me being the one to do that. But the prioritizing of your time, it's almost easier to do when you have less time.
It is, yeah.
So learning from somebody who's had less time, you're able to prioritize what really matters, right? So I worked with somebody this week, and they've got 5 hours a day to work. That's it, like 5 solid hours, and that includes having to eat lunch during that time. And it's like, okay, then this is how long this takes. These are the most important things for you to do in your business. This is how long each of those take. That's all you can do during those hours. You cannot pick up the phone and scroll social media. You can't watch TV. You can't decide to be lazy. You can't go shopping. You can't pick up groceries. Can't, you got to have restrictions. This is what I'm doing. And that's such great advice for somebody who's trying to figure it all out is really look at how you're doing it, how you're spending your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Where can we find you? Can you tell everybody where they can find you, Coach David?
You can find Coach David on Instagram, Facebook, and then I don't have as cool of a website as I should yet. But if you search Gibbs Financial Coaching or Coach David on Google, you should be able to find my website. And
that's Gibbs, Gibbs. So it's David Gibbs, Coach David out of Spring Hill, Tennessee. And if you're on my Instagram, he's on there too. But we'll share this out and share the links to all his places. Well, I'm excited for you to come back and share with us the progress on the book that is yet to be finished because you're prioritizing the most important things.
Yes, we'll get back to the book. It's about halfway through, but I'm paused
that's pretty good.
on it.
You got to start on it, and that's the biggest thing sometimes is just getting started. Well, thank you for being here, David. It's always so great to see you and spend time with you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. Make sure that you like, share, comment, rate, follow, review, and all the things, and send it to somebody who you think this might help. Thanks for listening.